Welcome to Quality Time with MoreSteam. I am your host, Dan Swartwout. Today, we are excited to continue our series of truly exceptional guests with Josh Howell, president of the Lean Enterprise Institute. Josh brings exactly the kind of deep expertise and real-world experience that you, our listeners, have come to expect each and every episode on Quality Time with MoreSteam. Josh went from Starbucks barista to leading lean transformations at thousands of locations worldwide. Now he is the president of the Lean Enterprise Institute, a teacher, a coach, one of the leading figures in the world of lean. Join us as we explore his journey and discover what it truly means to transform organizations through lean thinking. And now I am so excited to bring you my conversation with Josh Howell. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Josh Howell. Josh is the president and executive team leader of the Lean Enterprise Institute. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Thrilled to be here.
We are thrilled to have you here today. We've had over the past 8 or 9 months from LEI, we have had Peter Ward, we've had Mark Reich, we've had Tom Pater. So we have had an all-star murderer's row list of guests. It's like the 1927 New York Yankees here on Quality Time with MoreSteam. We're excited to have you here, Josh. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Sure. Well, let's see. So I'm going to bring down the average. If that's who you've had on representing LEI, it's an amazing team, great colleagues. I'm very fortunate. So a little bit about myself. Let's see. I live here just outside of Boston, in Arlington, Massachusetts, with my family. I was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. Did not leave town for college. Went on to the University of Notre Dame, where I studied finance, a degree that I've barely put to use since graduating, except for the fact that I guess I can read financial statements and whatnot. But all my practice calculating net present values has done me very little good in real life. Let's see, what else? So I've been with the Lean Enterprise Institute for about 12 years. I came here after spending 9 years to the day working for Starbucks Coffee Company, where I was introduced to Lean and a part of a company-wide Lean transformation there, and then learned a lot through that experience. Have continued to learn a lot here as a member of the Lean Enterprise Institute, and I've served in a variety of roles. Probably a majority of my time here has been in the role of coach out in the field supporting practitioners, trying to put these ideas to good use in dealing with their business challenges. And then just before the pandemic, I was asked to serve in the role of president, and I've been doing that ever since.
I want to talk a little bit about your role at Starbucks and how you went from working in a store all the way to the Lean Practice Project Manager. But before we do that, the most recent guest on our show was Eric Olsen.
Okay.
And I asked Eric, is there anything you would like to tell Josh? Because Josh will be the next guest on our show. And he said that you're on the steering team of the future of people at work. And he would like to know what kind of challenges and things should the future of people at work take on, and where do you think the future of people at work should go? And this is kind of a holdover arc from our last episode, so I'm excited to get your thoughts on this.
Man, oh man. All right, so we go from giving me your brief bio to what's the future of people at work all about. It's quite a leap there, Dan.
I know, but there are people hanging on the edge of their seats waiting for the conclusion of this story arc, Josh.
All right, well, let Eric know that what goes around comes around. Let's see. So this initiative is born from concern, I guess, amongst a group of kind of lean leaders, lean thought leaders, about sort of where these ideas meaning, the ideas that embody lean principles, lean practices, lean thinking and practice, as we like to say, sort of concern about where these ideas are headed, in particular as kind of work is changing Just the nature of business is changing, the nature of work is changing. And of course, we know that these ideas were sort of inspired by what was invented at Toyota in the 1950s. Things are quite different here in the 2020s relative to the 1950s. And so, kind of, where are we? Where are these ideas headed? Kind of initiated the conversation that's become branded, I guess you could say, as the Future of People at Work initiative. And the reason I think that the folks that the group of people who've been working on this are concerned is out of a deeply held belief that these ideas simply make things better for people. They make things better for customers through better value creation. They make things better for workers because they engage their minds, not just their hands. Work means more than just, kind of putting your hands to use, physical labor. It also means thinking about the work you're doing and finding better and better ways to do it. Which I certainly would prefer, kind of a future of people at work that sounds like that than one that kind of just enslaves me to the computer or the deli counter or the coffee machine or whatever that may be. So it's better for customers, better for workers, better for managers in the sense that they can do meaningful work in investing in their people, helping their people grow, reaching business goals, taking on challenge, those kinds of things. And then they're better for, let's say, owners, right? They're better for the bottom line through better value creation, removal of waste. We can make more money. We can do it in a kind of a humane way. So I guess that's sort of the background. I mean, that's what motivates this group to work on this, is that we've all had experiences wherein lean thinking and practice helped us personally benefit through enabling us to make our work better, to do better by our customers, better by our people. And it's a real gift that we've received. We want to be sure that others into the future also receive this gift. But as even if we add up all the lean practitioners in the world, we're just a small fraction of what's out there. And so our ability to get these ideas to as many people as possible often means we need to go through kind of gatekeepers, influential people, let's say CEOs, right? I mean, influential people of large communities, large organizations, large companies, to inspire them to put these ideas into practice so that these ideas can then be passed along and reach their people. So that's sort of our scaling thinking, right? But if we're not interesting, if we're not seen as relevant, and by we I mean those of us representing these ideas, if we're not seen as interesting and relevant to modern day business challenges, then we're kind of toast. Our ability to deliver this gift to future generations is greatly limited. So that's sort of what we're kind of working on, and why we're concerned. And with the way things are going, whether it's all the hype around AI or just even some of the leadership that we're seeing in the public sphere these days, I think there should be concern that people in the future won't experience meaning and fulfillment in their work, but instead something in potentially more sinister, more negative. So that's sort of, I guess, the background and why we think this work is important. So we've been working on it in a variety of ways for a couple of years. We're going to continue to work on it along with Eric and other lean leaders, including two MoreSteam colleagues of yours, Lindsay and Peg. We're at our Future of People at Work symposium a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, I guess that's my impromptu answer to Eric's big question. Thanks, Eric.
I heard nothing but great things, not just from Eric, but from both Peg and Lindsay about the recent symposium. And I talked to Eric a little bit about the plans for 2026. I recommended having it here at the Horseshoe at Ohio Stadium. He said it might not quite be at that level just yet.
Perhaps not. You'd also have some convincing to do. There's a number of people heavily involved in this initiative that are across the border. They're celebrating football in Ann Arbor, as well as those of us from South Bend who would prefer that the venue be Notre Dame Stadium, the house that Rockney built over whatever you guys call it there at quote unquote the Ohio State University. Anyway,
Josh, tell me a little bit about your journey because I find this fascinating. Out of college, you start as a shift supervisor at a Starbucks store and you work all the way up to lean practice project manager. Tell me a little bit about that journey, how that came about, your introduction to lean, and how you were able to take that across that gigantic company.
well, I got really lucky. Would be sort of the simple answer. As you mentioned, that's right. In 2004, my future wife and I had moved from South Bend, Indiana to Portland, Oregon, because why not? We were 24 years old, and moving to a place like Portland, Oregon sounded like a fun thing to do, and indeed it was. But once we arrived, I realized that I needed a job. Toilet paper wasn't going to come for free. And so anyway, ended up going to a job fair, getting hired as a shift supervisor, as a barista for the company, helped open a new store at the intersections of Barber Boulevard and Capitol Highway in Portland, Oregon. And it wasn't long thereafter that I became a store manager, and that by sheer coincidence, the store that I was managing was selected by the company for its quote unquote model cafe experiment.
Wow.
With lean. So there have been some lean stuff happening in the supply chain, and in some corporate processes like marketing, specifically around the promotional workbooks that kind of dictate what stores look like every 3 months or so. And that early lean experimentation had been very successful. And so eventually the guy leading it, Scott Hayden, who was in charge of global strategy for the company, kind of an interesting place for lean to be kind of emanating from, out of the strategy group. Anyway, he got sort of bold enough to bring this experimentation into store operations. And that's where I got randomly kind of selected and involved in the process. So we ran an experiment for, 9 to 12 months or something, putting lean into practice in store operations, discovered all kinds of improvements that we could make, all kinds of ways we could better satisfy our customers, eliminate waste, all sort of the hallmarks of this work. And in the middle of that, the financial crisis around 2008 struck the company, much like it struck everybody. And honestly, Starbucks needed a way to respond to the challenges that financial crisis created for the company. Fortunately for Starbucks, this lean experimentation had been going on in different areas of the company, as I've mentioned, including store operations. And so essentially, without getting into all the details, the company decided lean would be an integral part of how it responded to the challenges brought on by the financial crisis. They made considerable investment in building out our lean capability. That included hiring somebody like me out of my store manager position to a job in the corporate headquarters in Seattle. There's a brand new lean team that was formed. And anyway, I spent the next 5 years or so as part of that effort, essentially trying to kind of replicate the improvement that we had discovered, that we had shown was possible in my store in Portland, Oregon, replicate that across the company, across the world, really. At that time, I think there were like 30,000 stores around the world. And
wow.
And so I was a part of an effort to try and sort of spread lean thinking and practice across all those locations. Focused on the US primarily to get started with, but then eventually kind of a global spread. So I was a part of that for 5 years. It was an awesome job. It involved managing a lab store for a couple of years where I developed, kind of my technical chops with this work. And then it involved some time out in the field supporting like multi-unit leaders up to the level of like vice president, senior vice president, down to even like store managers, to put these ideas into practice, to support them and coach them through problem solving, leveraging the lean processes that we were setting up. It was just an awesome experience. Totally awesome. It was kind of pioneering too. I mean, there weren't, to our knowledge anyway, there weren't other food service or coffee or retail really businesses that had put lean into use. So we were shown pictures of factories in our training and told that, trust us, this applies to coffee shops. It's like, okay. It turned out they were right. So through all that experience is when I got to know people at the Lean Enterprise Institute, including our founder, Jim Womack, and John Shook. Starbucks presented at a couple of Lean summits, specifically in Dallas 2011. I was a part of that presentation and breakout session. And then a couple of years later, when I decided to make a transition, that ended up bringing me to LEI. And I've talked already about kind of what I've been up to here for the last 12 years.
At MoreSteam's Best Practices for Operational Excellence conference, you participated in a presentation with John Shook.
I did.
What's it like to interact with John Shook, Jim Womack, Peter Ward, all these guys on a regular basis, the names you hear that are like on the Mount Rushmore of Lean, and you're interacting with them constantly? What's that like?
Yeah, it's funny. I've often said that my best sort of work friends are all 30 to like 3 to 4 decades older than I am. So in part, that's what it's like. Is hanging out with a bunch of old guys. No offense, Peter and Jim and John, if you're listening. So that's part of what it's like. It's amazing. Like I'll never forget my first visit to LEI. It was towards the end of my time working for Starbucks, and I had an opportunity to go have coffee at a coffee shop with Jim and John, who spent a couple of hours with me, mostly just listening, talking interestingly, colorfully, about the state of Lean in the world, about the state of the Lean community, the state of these ideas. I just was like pinching myself the whole time that I got to listen in on that conversation. It was amazing. So for the first handful of years, honestly, I kind of sat and listened more than I was chiming in and contributing. Because, the names that you listed off, just have endless things they could teach someone like me, someone like you. Their experience is just incredible. So I've been super fortunate to be able to work with them over the years, travel with them, spend many, many hours with them, picking their brain, hearing their stories, learning about, kind of how these ideas were discovered, how they've evolved over time, what they see as the current situation, and kind of what our challenges are for the community. It's just amazing. To be able to draft an A3, like a strategy A3, trying to think through a challenge, and then sit down and share that A3 with John Shook and have him coach me as if I'm, Porter in the book Managing to Learn, and as if he's Sanderson in the book Managing to Learn, is a pretty special experience. I'm just very lucky. The luckiest Lean learner in the world is kind of how I think of myself. That I get to work with some of those guys, but many others too. Just being a part of the LEI organization, the LEI community. I've had 12 years of getting to interact with some of the just most amazing thinkers and practitioners and coaches and leaders out there. And I don't know, I pinch myself every day that I get to do this work.
That really is amazing, Josh. For listeners, because somebody might just be tuning in who doesn't know a whole lot about Lean yet, for listeners who are new to Lean thinking, how would you explain it in about a minute without any jargon, using simple, everyday language that anybody could understand?
Okay. I think I'll borrow for this sort of a definition that we work with. You brought up earlier Eric Olsen and our affiliation through the Future of People at Work. Eric's a leader of one of several kind of lean-focused .orgs, nonprofit organizations, and members of those .orgs themselves, or those .org communities, have been working on kind of a simple elevator pitch style lean definition of lean, I guess. So I'll call upon that.
Okay.
It might have a little bit of jargon in it, but I think it's okay. So so the way we've come to describe lean, it's about everyone learning to create and flow value. So I use the word flow and value. Those might be a bit jargony for some people, which is to say to make things easier, better, faster, cheaper, in that order, for everyone's benefit. So everyone learning to make things better for everyone's benefit. In my mind, lean is the greediest of all business philosophies in that it's greedy for everyone. It's not selective in who it's greedy for. It's not just greedy for the ownership. It's not just greedy for the customer. It's not just greedy for the worker. It's greedy for all of us. We should all benefit from organizations that are built around these ideas. So kind of systematically, in my mind, a lean organization then helps the right people at the right level solve the right problems at the right time in the right way. I think that's sort of what these lean systems are all about. The production systems, management systems, the operating systems is to help us do that so that, again, we're all learning every day to make things better in order for everyone to benefit.
One of the things that stuck with me throughout the time hosting the show is something that Tom Pater said, where eliminating waste is a lot about moving people to more meaningful work. It's not about reductions in force. It's not necessarily about cutting costs. It's removing that waste so people can move to more meaningful work to create value. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's something that stuck with me for a lot of time now, and I'd love to hear more about that.
I like that quite a lot. What it makes me think about is how we determine what makes something meaningful. And I guess I'd put that squarely on kind of what is meant by value, kind of, and to whom. When I think about conversations or when I get opportunities to talk with somebody who might be new to these ideas, frankly, I don't talk a lot about waste elimination. I talk far more about value creation. And even to eliminate waste, waste is not an absolute. Like, just because someone's moving or transporting inventory or something like that does not mean they're engaged in waste necessarily. If what they're doing is necessary for the value creation to happen. Right? Waste is sort of relative to what is value. It's not an absolute. So anyway, to make work meaningful, as Tom put it, which I quite like, I think first requires us to define or to explore what would make work meaningful to begin with. And I think that's really a matter of defining what is value for the quote unquote customer. And by customer here, I'm thinking about the concept of customer in the way that Toyota does, which is as the next step. There's an end user customer eventually, right? In a Starbucks cafe, for example, as a barista, I get to interact with that end user all the time. So the end user customer is like in front of me literally all day, every day. But that's not true for most of us in the work we do, right? We have a next step. We have someone we draft an email for. We have someone we put together a report for. We have someone we assemble parts into a product for. And whomever we're doing whatever for, that's our customer. And they've got a job to do. They've got a problem to solve. They've got some need. And so the degree to which we can really clearly know who that customer is, what they need, what they want, and then provide them exactly that in perfect quality, perfect condition. It allows them to do what then they need to do, whatever that may be. Drink a cup of coffee to wake up, put together a memo based on the input that you've provided in your email. If we're constantly working in that way based on clarity around what they value and providing that to them perfectly, I think that gets to the meaningful work that Tom was talking about, and is a nice frame, I think, for what it is that we do.
Josh, I want to move to some of the topics you've really specialized in, written about, talked about. One thing I'd like to know is, how do you help leaders understand the relationship between standardization and innovation? A lot of people
Mm,
see them as opposites, but you have shown they can work together.
yeah. I hope I've shown that. Thanks for saying that. Well, I think if the belief that they're opposite, that standardization is the opposite of innovation, I suppose rests in a definition for standardization. A definition for standardization that I would argue is wrong, essentially. So I don't know. A couple of months ago, I co-wrote an article with Tyson Heaton where we talked about the distinction between standardization and commonization.
Mm-hmm.
Commonization being this sort of like imposed one way to do things by like a central entity, let's say a headquarters or something. Whereas standardization would be developed by kind of the local team for the work that they own. And they're developing that standardization or sort of their best known way to do their work for the purposes of stability and reliability and all that kind of stuff. But it's the best known way, right? I mean, it's not the best way. That would be sort of impossible and naive. But we can certainly have the best known way, and then we can be engaged in an ongoing process of kind of evaluating, is this still the best known way? Is this still the best known way? Is there in fact a better way? And so that kind of pursuit of endless continuous improvement around, based on good standardization,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, I think that kind of endless pursuit of better, 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 sometimes you get lucky and what you discover is better. Perhaps you could even get away with calling it innovation. So in that sense, I think they're kind of hand in glove, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
A culture pursuing standardization in the sense that standardization is always evolving, right, is the baseline for continuous improvement. A culture pursuing that, I believe, would equate with a culture pursuing quote unquote innovation also. It's just kind of a matter of magnitude around the improvement, whether we call it a problem solve or a Kaizen or something as grand as an innovation. So anyway, I think that's how I think about those two in relationship to one another. Definitely not opposites. And yeah, I think they can go together like a hand in glove, as I said.
You've also written about being a coach as learner. What's something leaders could start doing tomorrow to develop that humble inquiry approach? And what do you look for when you're developing internal lean coaches?
I think the most practical thing that I might advise a learner, or a leader rather, to get into the habits of humble inquiry or the habits of a coach would be to spend time kind of where the action is, where the work is happening, and rather than trying to like diagnose it or improve it, to simply invest in the time required to understand it, to get in the habit of, I don't know, assuming you don't know anything, assuming you don't know what's going on, assuming you don't know why what's happening is happening, and spending a vast majority of your time, far more than probably you do today, far more than I probably do today, when I'm close to the work or in the action, with simply trying to understand it. Engaging with those who are doing it to, learn from them, why things are being done the way that they're being done. There's got to be some way or some reason rather why that's the case. Anyway, I think a habit like that, or just a mindset even like that, can put a leader on a path to being a learning leader, right? A leader who's known for being curious, for being humble in their inquiry, as Edgar Schein likes to call it. Anyway, that's what comes to mind.
Which of the lean transformation framework's 5 questions do you see organizations skip over most often? And what happens when they do? What actually makes a transformation truly leader led?
Interesting. So so the lean transformation framework, for those who don't know, consists of 5 questions. Number 1, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Number 2, what's the work and how are you improving it? Number 3, what capabilities do you need and how are you developing them? Number 4, what's the management system required and how are you building that? And then underneath all of it, sort of what's our basic thinking? How do we think about cause and effect, or I don't know, kind of what's our mindset around this stuff? So those are the questions. My answer would be unequivocally that of those 5 dimensions or those 5 questions, what do organizations struggle with the most? It's question number 2 around what is the work and how are you improving it? But I say that knowing that I'm saying that in contrast to what most people believe they're struggling with. In fact, when John Shook was first, so John Shook created the Lean Transformation Framework. When he was first introducing it, he conducted a survey at one of our summits. I think it was the one we did in Nashville, Tennessee. And he asked the question to the 700 people or something that were in the audience, which of these 5 dimensions would you say you or your organization is struggling with the most? And the dimension around work and work improvement got the least number of votes. Only 4% of people in that audience said that what they struggle with the most is kind of like understanding the work and then engaging in its continuous improvement. And when John walked off the stage, I remember he turned to me and he said, "That's our problem to solve." The fact that so few of us in our community see that that's where they're struggling. And I say that because, in a position like the one that I'm in, I'm very fortunate that I get to go visit with many, many people. I get to go see many organizations and I get to spend time with many practitioners, and I'm shown lots of quote unquote lean stuff, lean transformation activities. I'm shown lots of, visual management boards, and I'm just shown lots of things. The thing that I virtually never see, in fact, in all of my time visiting healthcare organizations, I've seen this on one occasion, was what I would consider good problem solving in the work. Like where the value creating work is being reimagined, it's being transformed to be easier to deliver, higher quality output, to be safer, to be more cost effective, to help reduce overall lead time. I just almost never see that, honestly. So the fact that I never see it is either indicating that everyone's so darn good at it that they don't want to waste my time showing that to me, or it suggests that we're just missing it. Frankly, that's almost been trivialized, that it's like, well, of course we're improving work. The thing that we're really struggling with is getting our leaders engaged, which is what I tend to hear most of the time. And then I look around the room and I see leaders. I also look around the Gemba and I don't see good work, or I see virtually no evidence of good quality problem solving in the work. So anyway, so perhaps a bit of a controversial answer there. Certainly one that I don't think the vast majority of us in the community agree with, but one that I feel quite strongly about. That's a hill that I will die on, that I think we as a community, perhaps because we trivialize it or something, spend too little of our time directly engaged with improving value creating work. We spend a lot of our time setting up boards. We spend a lot of our time, quote unquote, coaching one another or coaching leaders. And all that's good and necessary and very helpful. But just having a good board and a good huddle and a good tiered management system and good leadership behavior and all these things that we spend a lot of time working on, just having those things, in my experience, does not lead to good problem solving in the work. So that would be sort of my challenge, I guess, to listeners, would be some maybe reflect on kind of how have you spent most of your time in the last, 3 months or something, in your quote unquote lean work. How much of that was engaged directly with value creating work on the front line, helping somebody to make it better for their own benefit, for their customers' benefit, for the company's benefit. And I would not be surprised if the answer is very little.
Josh, I imagine it's got to be interesting if you think back to yourself graduating from Notre Dame 2004, to know what you are doing 21 years later, who you're interacting with, what you're talking about, that would have to be a total shock to 2004 Josh, wouldn't it?
No question. I'm reminded of that all the time because my spouse, I met her way before 2004, Josh. We met in high school, actually. Actually, we met in middle school.
No kidding.
Started dating in high school, and we've been together ever since. So anyways, so she reminds me all the time of what a schlub that younger Josh was, and how unlikely it was that I don't know, that he would have lived in Portland, Oregon, or lived in Seattle, Washington, or had a chance to be a part of this remarkable organization, Lean Enterprise Institute. Yeah, it's unfathomable, honestly. And I take some, but not much credit for it, honestly. I think I was just extremely lucky. I do work hard. I recognize opportunities. I'm not oblivious to the conditions that I often find myself in. I try to take advantage of opportunities that I'm given. But many of those opportunities were afforded to me through luck. I don't know. So yeah, it is hard to believe. I've been very fortunate.
It has truly been an amazing ride for Josh Howell. No wonder he feels so fortunate. I feel almost as fortunate to bring you this short break. MoreSteam's enterprise process improvement platform includes the tools, training, and software you need to transform your organization into a problem-solving powerhouse. Join the ranks of Fortune 500 companies that trust MoreSteam for their enterprise process improvement. Visit moresteam.com to learn more. And now back to my conversation with the president of the Lean Enterprise Institute, Josh Howell. What are some of the governance mechanisms that actually help sustain lean behaviors after that initial excitement wears off? How do you prevent that post-implementation slide that sometimes you hear about?
My simple answer to that would be through management systems. I mean, through weaving in both the improved process and the ongoing acts of continuous improvement into the way that the business is managed, or the way that the operation is managed. We talk a lot about kind of a basic framework for lean management in terms of managing kind of the day-to-day. That often gets referred to as quote unquote daily management.
Mm-hmm.
And managing for the long term, sort of strategically managing for the long term. We refer to that as Hoshin Kanri. So what I tend to see oftentimes is like you said, some initial burst of activity, some initial enthusiasm, and in some cases a brilliantly improved process. But then that's kind of where it stops. And it's critical that what kind of happens next is everyone who's going to be participating in this changed process kind of understand how it works, gain the knowledge and the skills that they need, and then that the sort of the changes get inculcated, get baked into the things that we check every day, the KPIs that we monitor, the collaboration that we organize for the sake of problem solving or whatever. And it's things like daily management, it's things like Hoshin Kanri, it's management processes like A3 and other problem solving methods that ensure those things, fully deliver the benefit to the customer and the business that they intended, that they get sustained for ongoing delivery of benefit, and that people are supported in continually reassessing those changes to find the even better way to do things. So anyway, I think about the sustainment challenge in many situations as one as a management challenge, actually. And we just know, from studying Toyota or other organizations that have been sustainably successful with this stuff, that it really is a matter of how they kind of bake this into the everyday work of managing and running the business, versus it being something that's like extra, or something that you schedule to do, like in a Kaizen event. I mean, really, we want to weave this in to the work and the management activities that everyone participates in and day out.
You mentioned Hoshin Conry a couple times. Your colleague Mark Reich was on the show discussing Hoshin Conry. So I suggest if you want to learn more about that, go back and listen to that episode. Check out Mark's new book, which is an LEI publication, correct?
It is, yeah, Managing on Purpose. It's an awesome
Yes.
book.
So check out the book, check out that episode with Mark to learn more about that. And again, another one of your colleagues, Eric Olsen, who we've talked about just on the show, we spent about half of the episode talking about AI because Eric is on the forefront of that. So I can't escape an episode without asking about AI because that's what everybody's talking about. So I'm going to ask you, Josh, what do you see as the opportunities and the risks when it comes to bringing technologies like generative AI into lean problem solving? How should organizations think about approaching this? Talked a lot about that with Eric, a lot about that with some other guests. I'd love to get your perspective.
Yeah, you can't have a conversation these days without
You can't.
AI being a part of it.
You
That's true.
can't.
That's true with spouses. That's true with kids. That's certainly true with those of us in the professional settings, for better or worse. Anyway, the way that I've come to think about, and I use it. I mean, every day, all day, every day. It's sort of like a companion of mine for just the work that I do. I spent an hour with it this morning, kind of thinking through some things in partnership and planning out my week and doing things like that. And how I've come to sort of think about it as a tool for like building in quality to, I'll say, knowledge work. I'll be kind of specific in that regard. So anymore, I hardly brainstorm ideas or like think through things without kind of checking or testing or bouncing that thinking off AI first. And the nice thing about these like large language models is they're always available. I don't need to worry about scheduling time with you, Dan, or with my colleague Mark or Eric. I mean, eventually I can get to the place where I'm like kind of ready to engage with other humans in some thinking work. But as a place to kind of get started and to more quickly and I'll say to a better degree, to a higher degree than otherwise, like develop that thinking into a good condition before I kind of waste others' time with my, half-baked ideas or whatever. I find it eminently useful for that. So, if we think in terms of like the TPS house, I think the risks lie in thinking about your AI companion, your agent or whatever, as useful on the JIT or flow pillar of TPS. I think that creates risks that you think AI's output, kind of unedited, unengaged with, is good quality, and it's just not. It generally is what I like to call slop. It kind of seems like it's good. At first glance, you read it, you're like, wow, that's an impressive, that's a well-composed essay or something. And then you engage with it really carefully and you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't make any sense actually. So be careful on like the flow side of things. But on the, I think inside the Jidoka pillar, like the notion of automation, I think it can be extremely valuable as a way to kind of like check your quality, check your thinking, prior to bringing, again, kind of undeveloped thinking into conversations with others that's just going to waste their time. For that, I think it's in its current form with its current capabilities and whatnot. I love it. I mean, I use it all the time to just kind of check myself before I utter words out loud, so to speak. I think that's especially true in a like a leadership position like I'm in. I mean, there are consequences to speaking publicly. This is just true, right? It gets interpreted as direction. It gets interpreted as like some like official word from the organization or whatever. And so, I kind of need to be cautious about that. It's why I tend to spend a lot of time kind of seeking counsel from others. But even for those conversations, I can better prepare for those engagements, for those one-on-one conversations, for those advice-seeking conversations through doing a little back and forth with AI first, so that what I initially take into those conversations is of higher quality than if it was just off the dome, unchecked, unevaluated, without feedback.
Josh, you've been at this at a really high level for a very long time. What's something about lean thinking that still surprises you or challenges you personally? And what are you still learning as you continue your own lean journey? Some people like the term lean journey, some people don't. So if you have an alternative term, I'd love to hear it to use in the future.
Yeah, journey is a word that I tend not to use. I think of myself as on my own unique path, and I think others are on their own unique path too. Anyway, I guess that path can be a part of a journey. It doesn't matter. What are some things that continually surprise me? So I guess what surprises me is, or what I'm reminded of constantly, is how challenging putting lean thinking into practice is, or just the necessity of challenge, the necessity of being challenged, of being like pushed. I've been very fortunate. We were talking earlier about some of the people that I've had the chance to work with and learn from. I mean, I could give you I could give you like 30 names of just incredible people who I've benefited from being taught by, being coached by, and every one of them is through our interactions challenging me, like pushing me. So as much experience as I've gained, as capable perhaps as I've become, you were very flattering in saying that I've been at this operating at a high level for many years. I'm not sure. I've been at this for many years, that's for sure. And I feel as challenged, at times as overwhelmed today as ever. And certainly, when I was really early on in this stuff, looking up to people like John Shook or other coaches that I've had a chance to learn from, Jeff Smith or Margie Haganey or Scott Hayden. I mean, there's endless names. I would have thought like, well, they've figured it out. I can't wait till I know all that they know and can almost habitually put these ideas into practice. And at least for me, maybe I'm just that slow. I don't know. But that's not been the case. It is as intense, as challenging to work through, tackle problems today as it was when I first got started. The problems are different. They're probably harder than they once were. They're probably more consequential. But still, man, this is super tough work. And I don't say that to be like discouraging. I mean, to me, that's actually quite motivating. If it wasn't, I think I'd kind of just get bored. There's lots of things in my life that I've gotten bored with over the years. This is not one of them. And I think it's for that reason. I think you can kind of go as deep as you want to go into this thinking. You can apply it as far and wide as you choose to apply it. And kind of the further you go, the deeper you go, the more and more challenging it's going to be. And that's both motivating and at times quite overwhelming, quite difficult. I guess that's what comes to mind when you ask a question like that.
Josh, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I have to ask a couple questions before I let you go, though. From South Bend, I would assume that you grew up a Chicago Bears fan. Would that be accurate?
Sort of. My first meaningful encounter with the NFL was, so I'm the son of a preacher man. My father was invited to speak at like some kind of a community gathering at the University of Notre Dame. The keynote for that particular event was Lou Holtz. And then my dad was like a community leader that had a few minutes to speak. What was cool about that experience was I got to tag along. I got to sit at the speakers table and meet Lou Holtz, and I also got to meet the then running back for Notre Dame, whose name was Anthony Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
who then went on to be drafted by and play for the Indianapolis Colts. So I was young enough when that all happened that the Colts became my team,
Okay.
more so than the Bears. I mean, the Bears were also just pretty damn miserable in those
Right.
years, unlike today, you know, where they're just a really super high performing organization. All kidding aside, so anyway, so got addicted to the Colts. In fact, Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback
Oh, yeah.
that I remember from that time. So I liked them then, and then of course, you know, it was a lot of fun when they drafted Peyton Manning, and all the years with Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and Adrian James and Wayne and all those just amazing players, Reggie Wayne. So sort of the Colts have been my team, and I feel strongly enough about the Colts that I've held on to the fact that I cannot stand the New England Patriots, despite the fact that I'm now living in Boston and everyone around me talks endlessly about their Belichick or Brady or whatever fandom, and I just sit there quietly rolling my eyes.
Well, that makes my follow-up question, which you answered, even better, because I was going to say something about Super Bowl 20 between the Patriots and the Bears, but the rivalry between the Patriots and the Colts has been extensive and much longer. So to see that you stayed with the Colts even while in the Boston area, kudos to you. That's a tip of the hat to you.
Yeah, you know, sports fandom works in interesting ways.
Yes, indeed. Uh, Also wanted to point out, as we circle back to something we talked about at the beginning, Lou Holtz, assistant coach on the 1968 national champion Ohio State football team.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Well, I remember, you know, when I like some of my early career experiences, what I took away from those early experiences was how not to do things.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to say that's what Lou learned from working
Sure.
at Ohio State was how not to coach. And thankfully, he brought those lessons of what not to do to his glorious reign over the Fighting Irish.
Josh, anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to touch on before we go?
I think we're good. We've touched on all the essentials.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. I appreciate it immensely. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you again. Loved your presentation at our conference last year. Looking forward to you speaking again. And I can't wait for everyone to hear this episode. This has been phenomenal.
Cool. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Real pleasure for me.
And thank you for listening to Quality Time with MoreSteam. You can email the show at qualitytime@moresteam.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast service. Also, please go ahead and visit our website, moresteam.com, to learn about the software and tools that can help you solve problems, eliminate waste, and do things better. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more Quality Time with MoreSteam. Thanks again.